Have you ever wondered if thinking too much is actually destroying your peace? That maybe, just maybe, intelligence isn't the gift people say it is, but a curse that makes life harder the more you use it. Think about it. The smarter you are, the more you notice. You see things that others ignore. You feel when conversations are shallow, when people are lost in distractions, when society runs on illusions. And while those around you laugh, celebrate, and chase simple pleasures, you can't help but feel disconnected, like you don't belong in the same world they live in. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most brutally honest philosophers in history, believed this wasn't just your imagination. He believed it was the fate of every truly intelligent person. To him, intelligence was not a blessing to be envied, but a heavy burden to be carried. Why? Because intelligence destroys illusions, and illusions are what keep most people happy. Schopenhauer argued that those who see reality more clearly do not live better. They live harder. They suffer more deeply. They are misunderstood, mocked, even rejected by the very society they try to awaken. For while the majority prefer comfortable lies, the intelligent are condemned to face uncomfortable truths, and this creates a tragic paradox. If you're ignorant, you can be happy, even if your happiness rests on illusion. If you're intelligent, you may understand the world more clearly, but the price is isolation, disillusionment, and suffering. This is Schopenhauer's hidden secret, the one that few dare to face. The more deeply you think, the harder it becomes to live. But what if there's more to it? What if intelligence doesn't only condemn us to suffering, but also points toward a different way of living, a way to find peace even when the world makes no sense? In this video, we'll explore Schopenhauer's brutal but liberating answer. Schopenhauer begins with a disturbing truth. Intelligence is not the pathway to happiness. It is the pathway to suffering. Most people assume that being smarter gives you an advantage in life. They think knowledge brings clarity, that wisdom brings peace, and that insight gives you control. But Schopenhauer believed the exact opposite. The more intelligent you are, the more difficult life becomes. Why? Because intelligence forces you to see through the illusions that hold society together. While others are content to live inside comforting stories, belief in success, love, wealth, status, or even religion, the intelligent person sees the fragility of it all. They see that these are not eternal truths, but temporary illusions designed to distract us from the chaos of existence. Imagine walking into a theater. Everyone around you is enjoying the play, laughing, crying, feeling moved by the performance. But you can't stop yourself from noticing the stage lights, the costumes, the wires holding the scenery in place. You see the actors reading their lines and you realize it's all a performance. While everyone else is swept away by the illusion, you remain detached, aware of the fiction. That, according to Schopenhauer, is the fate of the intelligent person. This is the hidden price of intelligence. Once you've seen through the illusion, you can never unsee it. And the world no longer feels as magical as it once did. The laughter of others feels shallow. The ambitions of society seem pointless, and the comfort that ignorance provides is forever lost. In this way, intelligence becomes a double-edged sword. It gives you clarity, but it robs you of belonging. It reveals the truth, but it strips away the simple joys of life. And once you reach this point, Schopenhauer warns, you are forced to make a painful choice. Pretend you don't see the truth and play along with society's illusions, or accept the loneliness that comes with seeing reality as it really is. For him, this wasn't just philosophy. It was a law of existence. The deeper you think, the harder it becomes to live. If intelligence truly strips away illusions, then it also strips away your ability to fit in. And this, according to Schopenhauer, is why the intelligent so often feel like outsiders. Think about your own experience. Have you ever tried to share a deep idea, A thought about life, a book that moved you, a philosophical question, only to be met with blank stares, awkward laughter, or a quick change of subject. It's not because your idea was wrong. It's because most people don't want to think about it. The truth is, the majority of society does not operate on the level of deep reflection. People are not searching for existential truths in their everyday lives. Instead, they want simplicity, comfort, and distraction. They want stories with clear heroes and villains, news that entertains rather than challenges, and conversations that are easy to follow. For Schopenhauer, this is not stupidity, it is survival. Human beings cling to shallow waters because the depths are too frightening. He compared it to sailing. Most people stay close to the shore, where the waters are predictable, safe, and shallow. Meanwhile, the intelligent are pushed further and further into the open ocean, a vast, deep, and terrifying expanse. While others laugh and splash on the beach, the thinker is left alone, staring into the endless horizon. This is why intelligent people often feel out of place. It's not just social isolation, it's existential exile. The intelligent person sees the contradictions of human behavior, the emptiness of certain ambitions, and the hypocrisy of society. But when they try to share this vision, they are not celebrated, they are rejected. They are labeled arrogant, negative, or strange. The irony, Schopenhauer points out, is that this rejection doesn't happen because the thinker is wrong, but because they are right too soon. History shows us countless examples. Men and women who saw beyond society's illusions were often dismissed, silenced, or attacked until years later, when their truths became obvious. But in the moment, the result is always the same: isolation. The thinker doesn't just struggle to connect, they begin to feel that they live in an entirely different world. And in a way, they do. For while the majority remain bound to illusions, the intelligent are condemned to see through them and to live with the weight of that clarity. For Schopenhauer, intelligence doesn't only mean seeing more, it also means feeling more. The curse of the thinker is not just clarity of thought, but a heightened sensitivity to the world's pain and contradictions. While others can shrug off hypocrisy, injustice, or cruelty as just the way things are, the intelligent person feels these wounds much more deeply. They cannot simply ignore them, because their awareness magnifies every crack in the facade of society. Imagine walking through life with your skin removed. Every touch, every movement, every sensation becomes sharper, rawer, and harder to bear. That, Schopenhauer argued, is what happens to those with greater intelligence. The illusions that protect most people, faith in success, belief in fairness, blind trust in tradition, no longer shield them, and so the world strikes them harder, deeper, and more relentlessly. This heightened perception creates what Schopenhauer called a cruel cycle. The more intelligent you are, the more deeply you notice the absurdity, injustice, and emptiness of human existence. The more you notice, the more you suffer. And the more you suffer, the harder it becomes to share life with others who simply don't feel it as you do. The intelligent person begins to see life not as a beautiful harmony, but as a chaotic struggle fueled by chance, ego, and irrationality. And while most people can distract themselves with small pleasures, the thinker feels that these pleasures are fleeting illusions, bandages on wounds that never heal. Worse still, this suffering is often invisible to those around them. To the outside world, the intelligent person may seem distant, detached, even cold. But inside, they are carrying the unbearable weight of awareness, the futility of ambition, the fragility of human relationships, the relentless passage of time, and the inevitability of death. And here lies the tragedy. What society calls wisdom or depth is, in lived experience, often a slow burning torment. The intelligent person cannot return to ignorance, cannot unsee what they've seen, and cannot silence the mind that relentlessly pulls apart the illusions others live by. For Schopenhauer, this was not an accident. It was the natural fate of intelligence. To think more is to feel more, and to feel more is to suffer more. If intelligence reveals illusions, and if it sharpens both thought and feeling, then it inevitably sets the thinker against the world. And history shows us what happens to those who see too much, too soon. They are rejected, silenced, or destroyed. Schopenhauer was not the first to notice this. The story of philosophy, science, and art is filled with examples of great minds who were punished not because they were wrong, but because they were right before the world was ready. Take Socrates. His crime was not violence, theft, or betrayal. It was teaching the youth of Athens to question. For daring to peel back the illusions of tradition, he was sentenced to death by poison. Or Giordano Bruno, who proclaimed that the universe was infinite, a truth that shattered the comforting but false beliefs of his time. For this, he was burned alive. Or Galileo, who dared to point out that the earth revolved around the sun. His punishment was not admiration, but persecution, forced to live under house arrest for exposing a reality too uncomfortable for the church. Even Nietzsche, centuries later, was dismissed as insane because his writings tore apart the foundations of morality that society clung to for stability. His mind reached too far into truths that people simply did not want to hear, and Schopenhauer himself was no exception. His philosophy was considered too pessimistic, too dark, too brutal for polite society. For much of his life, he lived ignored, his insights brushed aside because they revealed a world that people did not wish to confront. This pattern, Schopenhauer argued, is not limited to great philosophers or scientists. It plays out at every level of life. The student who questions the teacher is labeled disruptive. The employee who challenges unfair rules is seen as a problem. The person at a gathering who prefers deep, uncomfortable conversations over trivial gossip is called strange, arrogant, or antisocial. The world does not want you to think. It wants you to obey. And anyone who refuses to play along threatens the collective illusion that keeps society stable. This, Schopenhauer believed, is the cruel fate of intelligence. Not only does it isolate you, it makes you dangerous in the eyes of others. And because of this, the thinker is not only lonely but often actively rejected by the very society they hope to enlighten. If intelligence condemns us to isolation and rejection, Schopenhauer asked an unsettling question. Does this mean that happiness belongs to the ignorant? For him, the answer was yes. Happiness and intelligence are not allies. They are enemies. The more you see, the harder it becomes to live. The less you see, the easier life feels. Most people, Schopenhauer argued, live not by truth but by illusion. They find meaning in careers, romance, money, social status, entertainment, things that distract them from life's fragility and emptiness. To the average person, these pursuits are enough. They create the sense that life has purpose, even if that purpose is borrowed, shallow, or temporary. And here lies the paradox. Ignorance protects. It keeps people from asking the questions that unravel the fabric of existence. It shields them from confronting the chaos, chance, and irrationality that drive the world. In a way, illusions function like anesthesia, numbing the pain of existence and making the unbearable seem bearable. Meanwhile, the intelligent person does not have this protection. They see through the illusions, recognize their fragility, and can no longer lose themselves in them. Where others see joy in fleeting pleasures, the thinker sees the emptiness beneath. Where others celebrate success, the thinker sees vanity. Where others surrender to love, the thinker notices how easily desire masks fear, projection, and self-delusion. This is why, according to Schopenhauer, those who think less often smile more. The ordinary man can find satisfaction in small routines, simple conversations, and momentary pleasures. The philosopher, by contrast, feels the hollowness of it all. Think of it like this. Two people walk into a theatre. One enjoys the show, laughs at the jokes, cries at the sad scenes, and leaves with the warm satisfaction of having been entertained. The other person, however, sits through the performance unable to forget that it's just actors on a stage, reading lines, performing for applause. Which one leaves happier? For Schopenhauer, the answer is clear. Ignorance creates joy, while awareness brings suffering. The wise man may know more, but he also loses the bliss of illusion. And so, in a cruel twist of fate, intelligence and happiness are inversely proportional. The more of one you have, the less of the other remains. This, Schopenhauer believed, is one of life's greatest tragedies. If ignorance makes life easier, then the intelligent man is not only unhappy, he is dangerous. And Schopenhauer believed that society has always known this, even if unconsciously. That is why society doesn't merely ignore thinkers, it tries to neutralize them. Why? Because the intelligent person is a threat to the illusion that holds society together. Most people want the comfort of believing life is fair, that success comes from effort, that love conquers all, that their ambitions have meaning. But the thinker, by exposing contradictions and lies, risks tearing apart the fragile web of beliefs that keeps society functioning. History is filled with proof of this. Socrates was silenced not because he was wrong, but because he made people uncomfortable by teaching them to think for themselves. Galileo was condemned not because his science was false, but because his truth threatened the church's control. Nietzsche was ridiculed not because he lacked insight, but because his ideas revealed the fragility of morality itself. Schopenhauer argued that this pattern repeats at every level of life. It's not just great philosophers or scientists who are rejected. It happens in classrooms where the student who questions too much is labeled arrogant. It happens at work where the employee who points out injustice is seen as a problem. It happens in social groups where the one who prefers depth over gossip is called boring or strange. The world does not reward the thinker. It resists him because the thinker is a mirror, reflecting truths that people would rather not see. And when confronted with these truths, the masses choose the easy option, to attack, dismiss, or isolate the one who reveals them. And yet, here lies the irony Schopenhauer saw so clearly. Society depends on the very people it rejects. Every breakthrough, every revolution, every piece of knowledge that has truly changed humanity came from individuals who were first ignored, mocked, or punished. The same society that silences the thinker in life later worships him in death, when his ideas no longer pose a threat. So the intelligent person faces a cruel paradox. On one hand, he cannot fit in with society because he sees too much. On the other hand, society will not leave him alone. It will resist, reject, and sometimes even punish him for daring to expose the illusion. This, Schopenhauer believed, is one of the greatest ironies of human existence. The world both needs and hates its thinkers. If intelligence isolates us, if it brings suffering, and if society itself resists those who see too much, then the obvious question arises, how can the thinker survive? Schopenhauer believed that there was only one way out, and it required a radical change in how one lives. The mistake, he argued, is that the intelligent man keeps looking for happiness in the same places as everyone else: careers, recognition, love, social status. But these things, which work as illusions for the majority, cannot satisfy the one who sees through them. The more intelligent you are, the more hollow they feel. So Schopenhauer proposed a survival strategy, 3 steps that could transform the burden of intelligence into a source of freedom. Embrace solitude as freedom. Most people fear being alone because they depend on others for distraction, validation, and meaning. But the thinker does not need constant company. Their own mind is a vast universe to explore. Solitude, for Schopenhauer, was not punishment but privilege. It frees the intelligent from the shallowness of social life and gives them the space to reflect, study, and grow. Instead of chasing connections that feel empty, the wise person learns to see solitude as liberation. Seek refuge in art and philosophy. Schopenhauer believed that true meaning cannot be found in the practical world, which is full of illusions and disappointments. Instead, the thinker should turn to art and philosophy, forms of experience that lift us above ordinary existence. Music, in particular, he saw as the highest art because it speaks directly to the essence of life without the need for words. In contemplation of beauty, in philosophy, and in the creation of art, the thinker finds a way to transcend the harshness of reality. Reject the illusion of happiness. Cultivate serenity. The greatest error of the intelligent man, Schopenhauer argued, is seeking happiness in the same way others do. But complete happiness, he insisted, is impossible. It is an illusion society sells in order to keep people moving forward. The wise person, instead, must accept this truth and aim not for happiness, but for serenity. By lowering expectations, reducing desires, and detaching from the world's trivialities, one can reach a state of inner calm that is far more sustainable than the fleeting joys of ordinary life. At first glance, this philosophy may sound harsh, even cruel. It strips away the illusions that make life tolerable for most people. But Schopenhauer saw something liberating in it, because when you stop demanding from life what it can never give you, you stop suffering from disappointment. You stop expecting people to understand you. You stop being frustrated with systems that are broken by nature. Instead, you live lightly with fewer illusions, but also fewer chains. You no longer look for happiness outside yourself. You build a quiet strength within. For Schopenhauer, this was the only way for the intelligent to endure their curse. Not by trying to change the world, not by begging for acceptance, but by living above the illusions that enslave everyone else. So what happens when the thinker finally accepts Schopenhauer's path? What is the true destiny of those who can no longer live by society's illusions? Schopenhauer's answer is stark, but strangely liberating. The intelligent man will never fully belong, but he can become free. Instead of being chained to the endless cycle of desire and disappointment, he learns to step outside of it. He stops expecting life to be fair, people to be consistent, or society to make sense. He understands that the world is chaotic, unjust, and indifferent, and by accepting this, he becomes untouchable. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. Everyone around you is panicking, running for shelter, clinging to whatever they can. But you remain still. You don't fight the storm, and you don't expect it to stop. Instead, you accept it, breathe through it, and let it pass over you. That calm in the chaos, that is the final freedom Schopenhauer described. The thinker becomes a spectator of life, not its prisoner. He does not need to play society's games, chase its empty prizes, or beg for its approval. He finds dignity in solitude, refuge in art, and serenity in self-mastery. He no longer seeks meaning in illusions. He carries his own meaning within. And here lies the paradox. While most people spend their lives chasing happiness they never truly find, the wise man, stripped of illusions, finds something even greater. Not happiness, but peace. Not belonging, but freedom. But this raises a question only you can answer. Is it better to live happily in ignorance or freely in truth? If this story spoke to you, then you're exactly the kind of person this channel was made for. Most people aren't ready to hear these ideas, but you are. So don't stop here. Subscribe to the channel, join this journey, and keep exploring the truths that most people would rather ignore. Because Schopenhauer was right about one thing. Intelligence is heavy, but you don't have to carry it alone.